Welcome to the June 2023 edition of Florida by the Numbers. I'm Sheridan Meek, research economist at the Florida Chamber Foundation, here to give you an executive update and analysis on the metrics that matter to securing Florida's future. Let's dive right in. There have been many changes in Florida's economy this month, all tracked on the floridascorecard.org. Highlights include new kindergarten readiness numbers, an updated figure of 1.37 million net new jobs needed by 2030, current labor market figures, and an update to consumer sentiment. Let's get started with a look at Florida's labor market. Employment rose to 9.726 million, with more than 346,000 jobs added since May of 2022. This gain continues Florida's trend of year-over-year gain every month since April of 2021. Noted here, we can also see Florida's monthly gain of 17,500 jobs added between April and May, a modest but noticeable decline from the figures reported last month. The 346,600 jobs created over the past year represent an annual growth rate of 3.7%, with annual gains experienced across most industries. The information industry's annual employment loss, first reported last month, has accelerated to nearly 4,000 jobs over the year, as the technology sector weathers some turbulence nationwide. Education and health services, led by healthcare, supplanted leisure and hospitality for the top spot for both raw and percentage gain over the past year. The education and health services industry also led the pack with 0.6% growth over the month. Professional and business services saw another strong monthly increase. Those two industries accounted for 85.7% of total monthly job growth. 4 industries saw monthly job losses, although they were only slight dips. We'll continue to keep an eye on these numbers, especially in the context of a potential national recession in late 2023 or early 2024. Shifting our focus to unemployment, the number of unemployed Floridians jumped by 6,000 from April to May. This increase in unemployment narrowed our available workers to open jobs ratio. Currently, for every 100 open jobs, only 62 Floridians are looking for work. This gap continues to reflect that Florida's workforce needs are greater than the available workers. Looking at how this compares to the rest of the country, our team analyzed the open jobs data for the 10 most populous states in the U.S. Florida continues to have the lowest ratio of unemployed people to open jobs. While this challenge is not unique, this gap is greater than in Georgia, which currently has 75 unemployed people for every 100 open jobs. This is reflective of a similar labor market challenge. Texas remains in the middle, with 92 unemployed per every 100 open jobs, and lastly, New York with more unemployed people than open jobs, 124 unemployed for every 100 open jobs. Let's shift gears to consumer sentiment. Floridians' outlook on the economy, as measured by consumer sentiment, saw a modest increase of 0.1 of a point from April to May. In the past year, Floridian consumer confidence has increased 8 points, yet remains well below pandemic and pre-pandemic era levels. The May consumer sentiment of 68.8 was a reflection of Floridians' outlook on the national economy, continued interest rate hikes, and national bank failures. Nationally, consumer sentiment fell by 4.3 points in May. Finally, kindergarten readiness scores were recently posted by the Florida Department of Education. Statewide, only 49% of Florida's kindergartners were deemed ready for kindergarten based on scores from the Florida Assessment of Student Learning, or FAST, administered within the first 30 days of the 2022 to 2023 school year. While this new test was just rolled out this year, making direct comparisons tricky, we note this is down slightly from 2021 to 2022, where 50% of kindergartners received a passing score on their assessment, and a continued drop from the 2020 to 2021 figure, which saw 57% receiving a passing score. On a bright note, these figures show that 62% of voluntary pre-kindergarten completers received a passing score versus only 37% of non-completers. This connection between VPK completion and kindergarten readiness exhibits a strong positive correlation across Florida's school districts, reinforcing the importance of early learning. As with the vast majority of our talent supply and education metrics, you can find out how your county's kindergartners performed by visiting thefloridascorecard.org. To join our statewide movement to ensure 100% of our children are ready for kindergarten and meet the other classroom to career goals of our Florida 2030 Blueprint, register for next week's 2023 Learners to Earners Workforce Solutions Summit by scanning the QR code on your screen. The Florida Scorecard and our team's accompanying research and analysis on these metrics are made possible by the leadership of the Florida Chamber Foundation's Community Development Partners. To stay up to date on the metrics that matter to securing the future of Florida as soon as they are released, there are a couple of ways you can stay connected. Follow @FloridaBTN on Twitter, where updated figures and accompanying analysis are tweeted instantly. You can also be sure to check out thefloridascorecard.org regularly. Updated metrics are added as soon as available to help Florida leaders lead. If you have any questions regarding the topics covered today or the work of the Florida Chamber Foundation, please reach out to our Director of Research, Dave Sobush, or any member of the Foundation team through the information on the screen. From everyone at the Florida Chamber, thanks for tuning in for another update on the metrics that matter for Florida's becoming a top 10 global economy by 2030. Join us again in July for another edition of Florida by the Numbers. Thank you.